What's going on YouTube? What's going on Facebook? I appreciate you guys so much for being here this morning or this evening or perhaps this night, depending where you're streaming from. I want to talk about three stories today. The first story is Johnson & Johnson was part of a settlement. There's three drug companies, $26 billion opioid settlement. Johnson & Johnson paid $5, but there's a few other drug companies who paid $21 billion. We're going to talk about this. This is a landmark settlement. And opioids are something that people need to think about and talk about because under the pandemic, we had more overdose deaths than ever and a record high, I believe. And it's driving our life expectancy down. So, they say as a parent, I'm not one, but they say, all you could do is try to give your kid a better life than you had. And, that's for the first time in a long time in America, that's not the case. Life expectancy is going backwards. It's been going backwards for years before the pandemic. And one of the main reasons is overdose deaths. And a lot of people are overdosing on opioids. Part of it is fentanyl, people taking it unknowingly, etc. There's many reasons. There's many drugs, illegal and legal, that are causing that. But we need to talk about it because as they tell us, and I don't know if this video is going to get flagged or whatever, because I don't know if you guys know, but on Facebook, they have something called vaccine hesitancy. So they don't care if you tell the truth or not. If you lie, if you're a government official and you lie, but it goes in favor of the pharmacy companies like Jen Psaki, they hate me because I accurately pointed out she's done this multiple times. She keeps going up and saying, it's FDA approved, it's FDA approved, it's FDA approved. She says this all the time. It's not FDA approved. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. It's emergency use authorized. The FDA has approved it under emergency use authorization. The actual FDA approval process is not done yet. That's a lie, but she gets away with it because one, she works in government, but also she's lying on behalf of their agenda. If you tell the truth about what they're doing, or you tell the truth about something that's inconvenient that they did, they can file it up on Facebook under vaccine hesitancy and censor and block the post from reaching a lot of people, even though they'll admit it might not be factually incorrect at all. It might be totally correct, totally accurate. They don't care. This is the type of people they are. I don't know how they sleep at night because left and right, everywhere I look, obviously there's pros and cons, and obviously there's things that they want to do, but they're not fact checking. They are censoring and slowing down any information that's inconvenient to the message they're trying to push. And it's gotten so bad. Before I start real quick, thank you guys so much for coming on Facebook. Thank you guys for coming on YouTube. It's gotten so crazy that, I posted a CNN article one time that just said what was going on with Johnson & Johnson. It was a harmless article that they themselves wrote, that they themselves, I don't work for the FDA or the CDC. They decided to halt the program for a week or whatever. I just posted a CNN article and all of a sudden I have NPR smear articles about me. They're writing all these sorts of things, trying to get me kicked off of Facebook for posting a CNN article. Why? Because the content of that article was not convenient to the narrative that they're trying to push, even though they said it, even though they did it, even though they decided, and all I did was reported on it. They hate that. So I'm guessing that this is not going to reach a lot of people for multiple reasons, but I'm not playing the victim. I'm just saying in general, they could classify this under hesitancy, even though I might not even talk about the vaccine at all. I want to talk about opioids. All right, so the first story is, and then we're going to get into the Ben & Jerry situation. It's very interesting. They're boycotting basically Israel settlements, and it's a fascinating story that I really want to talk about. I hope people stay tuned because Ben and Jerry are both Jewish. Ben and Jerry. You could look them up. I think it's Cohen and Greenfield. That's their last names if you look up their names. Something along those lines. Anyway, it's got a lot of Jewish groups mad at them. Obviously, a lot of people in Israel mad at them. And it goes really touches an interesting topic of what is hate speech, what is anti-Semitism, and what are these laws that I've been telling people for years that Republicans have been passing to try to basically make it illegal what Ben and Jerry is doing. They might actually be breaking some sort of laws and rules in certain areas based on things that Republicans pass. So it's a very fascinating story, being that one, they're trying to boycott Israel settlements, and two, that they're Jewish themselves. I just find it a fascinating story. And then third is Rand Paul with the Dr. Fauci showdown. I mean, that's one guy in Congress who actually does his job pretty well. I like Rand Paul. I prefer him, honestly, over Trump and DeSantis at this point. Every politician has their flaw, but I think Rand Paul he means business and he knows how to hold himself against Dr. Fauci. It's pretty fun to watch. All right. I made my own coffee this morning. Finally, I'm not going to say lazy because I'm not, but I've been busy. So I've been just getting crappy coffee. Man, it tastes good to drink good coffee. And I want to say real quick, thank you to everybody on my social media and Twitter. I posted, what's the best coffee you could buy online? And I got 100 responses and I picked one of the coffees. It was cheap. Someone said it's a good bang for your buck. So I listen to you guys. I don't just yap my mouth. Sometimes I listen and I appreciate the knowledge, wisdom, and coffee advice from you guys. I do take it into consideration. First story I want to talk about is this is CNBC. I know they're going to get mad that I'm reporting this, but I didn't make up the story. Big three U.S. drug distributors, Johnson & Johnson, reached landmark $26 billion opioid settlement. So it says a group of state attorneys unveiled Wednesday a landmark $26 billion settlement resolving claims that the three largest U.S. drug distributors and drug maker Johnson & Johnson helped fuel a deadly nationwide opioid epidemic. Under the settlement proposal, distributors McKesson, Cardinal Health, and AmerisourceBergen are expected to pay a combined $21 billion, while Johnson & Johnson would pay $5 billion. So this is another settlement. If you look up the history of Pfizer, they've had a big settlement. I'm not trying to make people hesitant because I don't even understand what that term means. It just sounds like a propaganda term, like designed to force you into a decision they want you to make. But this is just within the last 24 hours as well. This is a New York Post. It says Pfizer recalls anti-smoking drug Chantix due to cancer-causing chemical. So within the last 48 hours, you have Pfizer recalling an anti-smoking drug due to a possible link to a cancer-causing chemical. And you have Johnson & Johnson, one of the most landmark settlements ever for opioid murder. I'm not saying that they did it, but that's what the settlement alleges and involves, the opioid fueling crisis, which is killing hundreds of thousands of people in America, and especially our younger generation. And it's ruining our country. Our life expectancy is going backwards. So, between the sunscreen, the baby powder, the Chantix, it's like these people can't keep their products on the shelf for, it's like this is happening all over the place. And I'm supposed to act like I don't even notice it. Every time I watch television, every commercial, I don't even watch TV that much. But when I do, it's lawyer, pill commercial, take this pill, take this pill, take this pill. The next commercial says, did you take that pill we told you to take 10 years ago? You might be able to sue. Did you take the product that we told you to take 10 years ago? You might be able to sue. Our culture's disgusting. At least when I was younger, it was like disgusting sugary cereals and like Captain Crunch and stuff. It's not great, but it was a little bit more fun, Now the commercials are a mirror of our culture. Our culture is shove pills in people's throats and get a lawyer. That's our culture. It's disgusting what we're doing to our people, and it shows. Life expectancy going backwards, more people dying of overdoses than ever before, and it's not going to stop because the industries involved in it are now superseding our Constitution and basically, in many ways, threatening us, holding us for ransom, forcing us, and basically trying to decide that we are a second-tier citizen if we don't bow down to their new product. As their older products are being taken off the market, lawsuits left and right. The only one that doesn't have that going on right now is Moderna, because this vaccine that they pushed out is the first product, I believe, that they got out to the masses. Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson have a lot of products, and I'm not saying they're all bad or they're all good. I'm just saying this is reality. This is happening. And these same industries involved with the opioid crisis are now trying to force our hand. And look into it. Just read the article. I could read a little bit for you, but that's pretty much the gist of it. Under the settlement proposal, they're paying $26 billion combined with those four companies. The distributors were accused of lax controls that allowed massive amounts of addictive painkillers to be diverted into illegal channels, devastating communities, while J&J was accused of downplaying the addiction risk in its opioid marketing. The companies have denied the allegations. So they're being accused of downplaying the addiction risk. Would they ever downplay something for a financial profit? I don't think so. I'm going to write that up as a conspiracy theory from CNBC and ignore it because I don't like when they say things like that. When I say things like that, that's a problem. When CNBC says it, that's just reporting. But in general, I think the gist of this is when they make a lot of money, they just pay a fine. I mean, you look at the Sackler family, I think it was Purdue Pharmaceuticals. You could go down the line of all these pharmacy companies from Bayer to Pfizer to Johnson & Johnson to Purdue to all, McKesson, Cardinal. I'm just curious, how much money did they make over the course of the opioid epidemic? How much did they pay? And did anybody go to jail? If you can pay less than you made and nobody goes to jail, I don't think they have any incentive to stop doing this. And their new products on the market, regardless of what Ron DeSantis wants to say, or Ben Shapiro wants to say, or Donald Trump wants to say, or Dr. Fauci wants to say, or CNN wants to say, or Sean Hannity wants to say, they're not liable for side effects or illnesses. So, they have one of the best sweetheart deals in the world where they're not going to have to pay a single dollar for these vaccinations ever at all, because they've already kind of put together the PrEP Act and other things where they have a settlement fund. If something happens to you, you can try to access the money, but it's not coming from Pfizer. It's not coming from Moderna. It's not coming from the Trump family who's pushing it. And it's not coming from DeSantis. It's going to be either you, or if you're lucky, you'll get a little piece of that money. So I just find all of this stuff fascinating. I think common sense people understand it, but we're living in a time where I don't consider what they're doing optional. I don't consider what they're doing free market capitalism. I don't consider what they're doing Democrat or Republican. I think what they did was locked us in our houses for 3 months, 2 months, 5 months, shut down our businesses, destroyed and murdered the free market under the Trump administration, by the way. It wasn't just Democrats. They all came together in March to slaughter the free market together, act like they're fighting socialism, print trillions of dollars. And the only time they decided to rescind their emergency orders, some of which still have not done so, Democrats and Republicans in certain areas have not done so. Even in my area, there's Republican mayors who have not rescinded their emergency order. I wonder why. What took Ron DeSantis so long? They got a product, they shoved it in your throat, and then they decided they could take the emergency order. So I don't consider this free market. I consider this holding someone for ransom. Holding someone for ransom is when you take them, threaten them, and tell people, unless you do this for me, I'm not giving you this person back. That's holding you for ransom. And that's what they did over this vaccine. This is not optional. This is not normal. They spent billions of dollars to push it on people, lotteries, this, that, vaccination segregation, vaccine supremacy. You can't come here if you don't get it. You can't go here if you don't get it. That's not optional. That's called holding someone for ransom. And that's what they all did. And that's people are saying now, well, DeSantis is pushing it. I can't believe it. It's like, he's been doing that. I mean, there's some good and there's pros and cons to everything, but people just close their eyes because they like Trump and DeSantis, and they want to act like it's brand new that DeSantis is pushing the jab. He's been doing that. Whether you love that or you hate that or you think it's free market or you're disgusted by it, I don't really care. I'm not telling you what you think, but he's been doing that just like Donald Trump's been doing that since last April. It's just people close their eyes when it's their heroes doing it, and then they act shocked and brand new when what they've been doing for a year, they do again in a press conference yesterday. So everyone's acting like that's new. DeSantis has been doing that. And before I move, my only concern is like, I don't care who gets what. I don't care who doesn't get what. I really don't. I don't care. Some people are on 5 pills, right? I don't take pills, but I take, there's little supplements I take sometimes, but that's my choice. No one tells me that I have to take this. No doctor tells me I have to take this. They prescribe something to you or they suggest something, and then you get to decide. This is always how it's worked. So I don't care who gets the vaccine. I don't care who doesn't. Me personally, it doesn't matter to me. I don't really mind. However, the reason I do mind is because once they get critical mass, in my perspective, this is just what I think. Once DeSantis and Trump and all these people, they're like, no, get it. We're getting 80, 90%. Once you get 80, 90% of the population, is it going to disappear? They say so. If it doesn't, I think they're going to turn against the population who hasn't. So, if it's 50-50, there's nothing they're going to do. If it becomes 80-20, I think the people who got it, now they're trying to justify their decision. Now they're trying to act like supremacists, like Scott Adams, and think that they're better and healthier than you. And they're going to look at the people who haven't got it and they're going to turn on you just like they're already doing. So I would say be very suspicious and be very skeptical of people like Ben Shapiro and Ted Cruz who use this type of terminology and act like they're fighting for freedom. And they say, well, we should take the masks off of the vaccinated, says Ted Cruz on an airplane. Ben Shapiro keeps tweeting, forced masking is ridiculous if you got vaccinated, and everyone's cheering him on. And I keep saying, look at the terminology. They're not saying to take masks off everybody. They're not saying that everybody deserves freedom. They're saying that the vaccinated deserve freedom because that's what they think. If you watch Ben Shapiro, he explains mandatory vaccination in his mind. He doesn't believe the government should go into your house and force you to take it, but he is okay from your children being barred from school. He is okay from you being barred from a public event. He doesn't mind that. He thinks pressuring you into getting vaccinated is fine, as long as you don't force it in your needle. If you take away resources and turn you into a slave and a second-tier citizen over it, Ben Shapiro's totally fine with that. He said it on his show, and that's the reason he's tweeting for the masked or for the vaccinated. That's the way he thinks. That's what Ted Cruz is doing. A lot of these Republicans that you think are on your side and care about you, they will turn on you just as fast as a Democrat when that critical mass is reached and they look at the percentage of the population and they try to blame you for anything. So that's where we're heading. I wish we weren't, but the more people that get it, the crazier people get and the more they force. I've been waiting for a year for people to leave me alone. I'm fine. I mean, no one's forced me to wear a mask or anything recently, but in general, I see the way this is going. And everybody, before I really end, everybody thinks complying ends the pandemic. I wish it did. I really do. I wish everything we followed, every time we did 15 days to slow the spread, they said we'd get our freedom back. Then they said to wear the mask for a week, we'd get our freedom back. Then they said this. It's not me that's being inconsistent. I'm not a theorist. I've watched every promise that they've made. If we follow their orders, they will give us back our freedom. They just keep taking more. So people comply thinking it's going to get their freedom back. But as soon as you get exactly what they tell you to get, they move the goalposts and then they tell you, well, actually, you got 2 shots. Now you need a 3rd. Now, actually, you should wear a mask. I mean, this never ends. They've been wildly inconsistent. And I'm very skeptical to see where this heads. Let me know your thoughts. Second story of the day, I want to talk about the Rand Paul thing because I do find it fascinating what he's saying to Fauci. And the gain of function stuff is very interesting, or gain in function. What is it? Let me see. Gain of function. I always forget if it's in or of, but I want to talk about the Ben and Jerry thing because this is not being reported that much. And this is something that's really going to affect people in the future. And I've been talking about it for years, and you're going to start seeing it more and more because it's been passed into legislation. So Ben and Jerry, if you look them up on Wikipedia, they're both 2 Jewish millionaire businessmen who sell ice cream. They're super left wing, right? They're always calling everybody a white nationalist and we're fighting for, they're super just like, in my opinion, generic far left wing, like progressive, like liberals that have gone too far. However, they did something that's fascinating. They are now pulling their ice cream, I believe, from Israel settlements. So they have decided to take a stand against Israel as American Jews. And the reason I find it interesting is because in America, although me personally, I boycott what I want, so I'm not interested in boycotting that at the moment. But I do believe in America, you have your freedom to protest. You could protest the Democratic Party. You could protest the Republican Party. You could protest Fauci. You could protest Trump. You could protest Saudi Arabia. You could protest China. But in America, we are so subservient. Sorry if this hurts people's feelings. We're so subservient to Israel that we pass laws that go against the First Amendment of the Constitution to make it illegal to boycott and protest Israel. And a lot of right-wingers are behind it because most right-wingers are Zionists. And unfortunately, the right-wing Zionists who run the Republican Party, which is all of your favorite people, Trump, DeSantis, all of them, they prioritize Israel over America. And in my perspective, that's where it goes overboard. If you want to love other countries, that's fine. If you love Israel because you're Jewish, maybe you love it because you're a Christian, I don't care. But if you're an American politician or an American citizen and you supersede the Constitution of your country in order to appease a country more than you even do your own country is going to crumble. And that's what's happening to America. So Trump passed an executive order making it basically illegal or a fine-worthy offense to, do a BDS protest, such as boycott, divestment, sanctions of Israel. Ron DeSantis passed it into legislation, flew over to Israel and passed the first Florida bill ever passed in Israel to appease them in schools. And a lot of left-wingers and right-wingers, the ADL, et cetera, they work together to basically make it illegal to boycott Israel. So I find it interesting because they claim to do this under the guise of anti-Semitism. It's so anti-Semitic, but Ben and Jerry are both Jewish. So I just find it interesting because I'm like, are they going to say that they're anti-Semitic? And this is an issue with all of the hate speech rules and laws, right? I mean, there's going to be some bad left-wing Jewish people. There's going to be some great left-wing Jewish people. There's going to be some people that are black that you agree with. There's going to be some people that are black that you disagree with. But once you do hate crime, hate speech, anti-Semitism, racist, sexist, and you start passing the stuff into legislation and telling people what they can and can't protest, it's a sneaky way to take away your First Amendment. It's been that way, and the Republican Party and the Democratic Party has been working hand in hand to sell you out for years, but nobody wants to report on it because they love Donald Trump so much or something. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but I do like the fact that they're pushing the boundaries, although I might not agree exactly with what they're doing. They have the right to do so, and I wonder what's going to happen to them because the media, the press, and really the two-party system, as soon as you do something against Israel, you will watch the whole world fall down on you. And being that they're Jewish, I just want to see how they handle the, attacks of being anti-Semitic. We will see. And I think people need to be very wary of these type of things because during the pandemic, they said, they used this virus and they used the COVID-19, the pandemic. They took away everything. They took away the free market. They took away businesses, gyms. You saw what happened. They used the virus and the pandemic and the emergency to take away everything. So they know that they can't do certain things legally. So in order to do them, there is an event that allows them to basically break the rules or create new rules to do it. This is the same thing they're doing under the guise of anti-Semitism, racism, hate speech, etc. They're doing and passing laws that wouldn't normally be passed, but they're duping people using groups of people that they like, countries that they love, in order to play to their emotions. The same way they passed the Patriot Act, right? The Patriot Act, you're a patriot. It's nothing to do with patriotism. It has to do with the ability for them to now spy on American citizens, which they're now using against patriots. So the Patriot Act is now being used against patriots, and all of these laws are going to be used against it. So we'll see what Ben and Jerry does. But the lobbying firm in politics for Israel, they say it's anti-Semitic, but it's really just called AIPAC, and it's a factual thing. You don't find it for any other country. Saudi Arabia doesn't have a lobbying firm. China doesn't. They do it secretly and sneakily. AIPAC just openly lobbies Mike Pence, Donald Trump, Obama. I mean, try to find me a Democrat or a Republican that they haven't openly lobbied and invited to their event, whether it's Bloomberg, Ted Cruz, they all go to AIPAC. Google who has attended AIPAC in the last year. The Israel lobby is the most powerful foreign lobby in American politics, so much so, it's almost like we're joined at the hip. Like you are committing an offense against America if you even question our allies that we send billions of dollars in aid, that constantly spy on us, that have affirmed doing Pegasus, which is spying on a bunch of journalists and politicians. Don't look at it. Don't question it. Just keep passing these speech laws and hate speech offenses, which, by the way, if you look at the State Department, Christians who support this are in for a rude awakening, because I believe one or two of the 15 anti-Semitism laws that the right wing and the left wing are passing into legislation and law, if you look at them, there's certain parts of the Bible that will eventually be illegal. So I think a bunch of Christians think they're doing God's work by passing speech laws for Israel. But you're going to wake up one day and the Bible that you love is going to be deemed hate speech, and it's going to be illegal. Because if you read the laws, there are certain interpretations of the Bible and certain parts of Revelation, and in general, just the story of Jesus Christ, depending which way you interpret it, there's a lot of discussions being had in Christian circles. It's not going to be legal to even do that. So you should read the laws, not just emotionally say you love a country. It's like, yeah, I love everybody, but that doesn't mean I want a hate crime. In America, just to tell you what they're doing with hate crime, if you burn an American flag, nothing happens. Oh, you burned an American flag? Who cares? If you burn an LGBT flag, they could probably send you to jail and put you behind bars for burning an LGBT flag. So that's how they play you. It's like, oh, well, I don't want to be hateful. It's like, how come you're able to burn your own country's flag, but not a made up flag that uses a rainbow for a group of homosexuals? And I'm not saying I have a problem with people. I'm just saying that's what hate crime is. It means distorting the lines of what you can and can't do, and giving advantages to certain political affiliations that normal people don't have. A violent crime is a violent crime. An attack is an attack. An abuse is an abuse. I don't believe that all of these words and things that they're doing are to make the country better and safer for Jewish people or gay people. I think they're just making it essentially illegal to go against them, and then legal to do whatever they want and use that victim card as a shield so nobody can really stop them. Let me know what you think. Ben and Jerry, I'm not going to eat their ice cream, not because I'm protesting them. I just don't like milk products that much. I try not to eat that much ice cream, but they've always been clowny to me. I can't say I'm impressed or not impressed with what they're doing. I'm just more interested in it from a constitutional perspective, being that they're both Jewish, see how they'll handle all the attacks of anti-Semitism, and also the laws and rules and executive orders and bills that are being passed left and right that basically make what they're trying to do, boycotting Israel, illegal. American politicians care more about Israel than they do America. I'm sorry that people don't want to hear that, but it's like a competition in American politics. Who are people sold out to more? Are they sold out to China? Are they sold out to Israel? Are they sold out to the pharmacy industry? It's like a battle of sellouts. I mean, how many American patriots are there? I think Rand Paul loves the country. I think a few Republicans really love the country. But besides that, it's like a merry band of sellouts. They're like, well, I represent the pharmacy industry. Well, it's like, are there any American politicians that actually like our country anymore, like more than anyone else? Or is that a lost art? We'll see what happens. Speaking of people that I actually do somewhat like, Rand Paul and Dr. Fauci clashed over the gain of function research. And I want to put a highlight on Rand Paul because I truly believe, and I know some people have been upset with certain things I've said, but if you can't counter the COVID narrative, I don't think you're going to be able to counter liberals. If you can't figure out how to counter this, like Rand Paul or even certain elements DeSantis when he does, you can't conserve social conservatism, fiscal conservatism, economic. All of these ideas of black unemployment don't matter when there's a lockdown. All these ideas of trade tariffs don't matter when you're printing trillions of dollars. Every economic thing that Trump did got ruined, most of them, because of the lockdown. And I'm not blaming him 100%. I'm just saying, if you don't know how to counter COVID narrative going forward, you're not conserving anything. You're just putting on a show, which is apparently what a lot of Republicans like. They don't want to get something done. They don't want to win. They just want somebody who acts and puts on a little dance for them so they think that something's happening and they think they're fighting China as they're just getting obliterated by China. So in general, I'm going to spotlight Rand Paul. It's not because I do like him more than most people, but in general, if you can't do half of what he's doing, you can't be an effective Republican leader. Don't care what people think. They've cried about it for a year. Eventually, these people will apologize when they catch up to where I was a year ago. Trump is not the leader for this world anymore, and he's leading you to the wrong path because he doesn't know what he's doing, and he doesn't know how to counter COVID. All he knows how to do is funnel money to Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Moderna, and say what a great company they are. So if that's your idea of conserving the economy, have fun with the climate lockdowns, have fun with the Delta variant, and have fun with the fallout of everything they've done these last 2 years, because it's going to come. On that note, Rand Paul stuck it to Fauci pretty hard. I mean, I know he understands medicine more than others, but gain of function research, I'm just going to read, which he keeps accusing Fauci of funding. Gain of function research is a medical research that alters an organism or a disease in a way that increases pathogenesis, transmittability, or host range. The research is intended to reveal targets to better predict emerging infectious diseases and to develop vaccines and therapeutics. So in layman's term, gain of function research is taking a virus that is not that bad and not that transmittable and making it more transmittable. It's like a Frankenstein. It's building a bigger beast than ever existed in nature. That's what it means. That's what it is. That's what they do. And Fauci is on record 7, 8, 9 years ago. You can find videos of him explaining why he's doing gain of function research. He's been defending it for a long time. There's a Newsweek article. If you search Newsweek, Fauci, gain of function research, you can find a Newsweek article from last year before Rand Paul said anything. Not acting like I'm so special, but I did a video on this in April of last year, laying out how there were many virologists all over the world, Rutgers University, top universities, saying what Fauci's funding and supporting and wanting to do is very dangerous. So in my perspective, I don't know if they're going to fact check this or lie about it, but in my perspective, Rand Paul's completely correct. You can't just change the definition of gain of function research because you don't want to admit that you had a part in it. So I'm not saying like Rand Paul, I'm not saying Fauci did this. I'm not saying Fauci did that. I'm not saying that he had a hand in this or that. All I'm saying is Fauci is on record defending, supporting, and saying that he's involved in gain of function research. And he's trying to like weasel his way out of what it means. And Rand Paul said it directly. And I love the fact, I mean, this is a real politician who knows how politics works. He's like, it's illegal to lie in front of Congress. It's a crime. So what a great way to start out a grilling. He's like, you lied last time you came here, and it's a crime to lie. So are you going to apologize and retract it? I mean, that takes some balls of steel. I think that's a winning narrative. That's somebody who knows what they're doing in Congress. And when somebody does something great like that, it stands out. Like, Rand Paul looks like here, and everyone else looks like a bunch of do nothing. So what a great way to stick it to him, because I'm not a judge. I'm not involved in this, but I know what gain of function research means. I've studied it as far as the definition term. I've seen the videos of Fauci promoting it. I've read multiple articles from left-wing journalists and left-wing virologists who have said that he was involved in it at some point. So if he wants to pretend like he never did any of that ever, or that it wasn't what Rand Paul, that's for him and the courts to decide. But I love how Rand Paul is just going like, yo, he committed a crime. That's their little political world. But I mean, what a way to stick it to them. And that has to be the future coming up. Someone said gay of function. I don't know what it's a funny little joke. But anyway, it's not like I'm such a diva. Like people are like, Anomaly, you're so mean to Larry Elder or whatever. He's probably got the best chance out of anybody to win. So I want to know when he wins that he's going to take a strong stance against the emergency order. You guys don't know, I live in California, okay? I follow different politicians from California. There are still Republicans in some of the most Republican areas of California today that have still not rescinded their emergency order. Why haven't they rescinded their emergency order? Why did it take Ron DeSantis a year? Why did Trump funnel money to failing Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer and Moderna? These are the things that they did last year. They're not going to stop. And a lot of these people like Ted Cruz and Shapiro, not only do they not care about forced masking of the unvaccinated, some of them support it. They don't care if you get treated like a second-tier citizen. So for me, as a citizen of California, I need to know that you're not going to treat me like a slave, a prisoner, a second-tier citizen, or a peasant because I choose to not inject myself with a Pfizer or Moderna mRNA double shot that I just don't want to get at the moment. And to be quite frank, I'm not interested in. If other people are, I have my own fitness diet. Some people are vegan. Some people eat meat. Some people eat almonds. Some people fast. You can't tell me what to do. Sometimes I go on a 48-hour fast. Sometimes I drink water. Sometimes I go to the beach. Sometimes I eat macaroni and cheese. Sometimes I take supplements. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I eat kratom. It's legal where I'm at, and it's it's from a coffee bean plant in moderation, respectfully. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I put trace minerals in my water, and sometimes you can't tell me that I have to take it. So if Larry Elder or any Republican is not tough on that, I don't want to vote for. I can't support them. I need to know that you're going to go tough on the COVID stuff, because there is no conserving anything unless you fight the narrative. So someone like a Rand Paul, I'm not saying he's perfect, but that's the people you want to compliment. When DeSantis does something good, you want to compliment him. And when DeSantis does something whack, you want to say boo. You want to let them know you are the people. You are the populace. It's a populist movement. You are the population. Let them know, because they're not going to do what you think they're going to do on their own. They're not. Just like they didn't in March. Nobody thought that would happen last year. Nobody thought that the swamp wouldn't get drained. Nobody thought that Trump supporters were going to get set up at the Capitol. I'm just saying it didn't work out like people thought it would. So now it's time for us to say, this is what we want. Because it's not just like an opinion I have. If you can't counter the COVID narrative and see what they're doing, they're going to do it with climate lockdowns. They're going to do it with variants. They have set this precedent. They won this little ideological battle last year. They crushed it. And now we're in a whole different world. 2016 to 2019 was Trump world. He took over the world and they didn't know what to do. Once COVID world was ushered in, Trump didn't know what to do. Now Trump is, in my opinion, not only a weak leader, but a distractful leader, because he talks about 15 things, never mentions the most important things, and has no strategy or plan to counter it. It's all about him and his accomplishments that don't matter anymore, because he reversed them all when he caved to Fauci and, to be quite frank, funded pharmacy and kept them afloat as they were failing from their lawsuits and settlements. So Trump helped Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson more than he helped me in 2020. But in general, there is no conserving freedom. There is no conserving America. There is no conserving economics. Nothing will be conserved unless you guys rally behind a leader. who actually understands how to counter the narrative. That's just what it is. And if you don't see a leader in politics who's doing that properly, don't be afraid to do your own thing and, listen to people, appreciate them, but don't become like a fan of somebody who just doesn't know what they're doing. And that's what I see the Republican Party doing. More and more people are going to wake up to it because it's going to be impossible to ignore, in my opinion. They're coming for round two. They're going to push variants. They're going to get more hostile towards people who aren't vaccinated. And unfortunately, the more people who get it, the more people are going to be hostile against you. And a lot of these people that, you think wouldn't be, they will be. They'll have no problem because I know people that are like, I got it, so I don't mind doing a passport. I'm like, for me, that's psychotic. Like, you're going to try to track me and trace me based on my medical history and not allow me to access society, food, travel if I don't have the mRNA shot. To me, that's psychotic, like borderline, like I don't want to compare it to anything, but it's crazy. To people who got it, it's not a big deal. They're like, well, I got it, so whatever. You could get it too that's what they're going to do to you, unfortunately. So, I see this coming around. If people stay strong, stand firm, and, stick it to their constituents a little bit peacefully, but like, don't just act like what they're doing is great if it's not. That's my thoughts. Let me know yours. I'm going to read some. Dortley said, none of what you said is happening. You could say that, but I could read you a tweet from March. I'm not acting like I know everything. Obviously, a lot of stuff didn't, but I could read you my tweet from March, and I would ask you to compare it to something that other people said. All right, this is my tweet from March. Thank you guys for being here. This is from March 14th, 2020, okay? This is actually before the lockdown, before they locked our nation down through the states. I get it, but in general, they locked almost everywhere down. I said they're going to use this to push medical tyranny, mandated vaccines, government-mandated lockdowns, authoritarian power grabs, even bigger speech censorship. Life will never be the same, and Trump doesn't have a magic plan to save you until the end of time. So that's what I said before the lockdowns. I would implore you, find any of these Trump supporters that are crying about what I'm saying, any of these phony influencers that have my name in their mouth, compare that to what they were saying in March, and I guarantee you they pale in comparison, because they were all shilling for it, saying, oh no, he's got a plan to save me. I said, I know this is all coming. So I went, 1, 2, 3, 5 for 5. Everything I said happened there. I'm not saying I know everything, but it's like all these other people that are like, you don't know. Like, they were like, no, Operation Warp Speed is going to save us. We're going to be free. We're going to fight the deep state. We're going to lock them up. Trump's got a plan for us. It's like, no, but whatever. Someone said the left still doesn't think it's fascist. I would put it more on the lines of communist than fascist, but I think the more I learn about World War II and like communism and fascism, I'm learning that everything I knew was a lie. Like, I thought I knew a lot by listening to right wingers, but a lot of people just say these words. Like, I'm reading books, I'm learning, I'm like, oh, communism's not what I thought it was. It's not a plan that failed by a mistake because they didn't implement it right. If you read communism, it's total centralization of power. And these people don't like religion. They don't like family. They think that family is only among the wealthy. It's a total power grab. If you have no family, no religion, and you let the government control media, transportation, this is not a plan for the workers. This was always an elite scheme to funnel all the money to the top of the pyramid and leave you with no private property. That's what same with fascism. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, or I don't know that much about fascism, but as far as like, fascism tends to be more right wing, and I think I don't know that much about it, so I don't want to speak, but they try to do what the communists do to the right and try to do it in what they consider a moral way and take total control. But I don't know enough about it, so I don't want to speak on it. But this is way more communist, I think, than fascist. That they always said Trump was going to be a fascist, and he certainly wasn't, because he didn't really do that much with his executive power. A fascist would have, done a crap load of stuff, probably even push the boundaries of what's illegal. But Trump didn't do that. Trump was never a fascist. They just said that. And this is, I guess people could call it that if they want, but I think it's more commie. Someone said fascism's more right wing. I don't want to fully speak on it because I'm not well versed, but I have been looking into it. And I do think if you look at certain fascist leaders, it was more right wing, a lot more nationalistic. than communism. Like communism, they don't like families. They don't like private property. This is like communism. Fascism, from what I've seen, was like total power to somebody on the right, but more nationalistic, more about their people than the left, where they're like, no, none of that's good. So I got to look into it more. But in my perspective, anytime you give total power to a leader, it's very risky because, oh yeah, I'm going to save your life. Give me everything. So it's like, I prefer anything that allows me to have private property. So I haven't studied fascism enough to know what they would allow as far as private property, but I know communism wants to take it away. Someone said, and I'm crypto fascist. No, I speak on what I know. I'm not saying I'm for it. I'm just saying I don't want to say too much about it because I don't know that much about it. But I know once I started researching it, I was like, because they just say, okay, this guy was this guy was this. Like everybody just uses these words loosely, where it doesn't make it right or wrong, but it's just like, I mean, in some cases it makes it wrong. For example, in World War II, all we do is learn about Hitler, but we don't learn about Stalin that much. Stalin killed more people. You don't learn about Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong killed tens of millions of people. He starved them. I don't remember learning about Mao Zedong at all. Like there's not 10,000 movies about it. So it's not to say that one's better than the other, one's worse than the other. I mean, if your family was involved in one of them, you're going to think that was worse. If your family was involved in another one, you're going to think that's worse. So, any death, any sort of destruction, any sort of evil is evil. But that's just what I'm saying. It's like you could call Mao Zedong a fascist, but Mao Zedong was not a fascist. He was a communist, so you could say those words, but I that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm for it, or I'm just saying people loosely just use these words. And the more that I study, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to kind of piece together certain stuff. Someone said Lenin was a demon. Let me see. I'm going to read some comments. Elena said, fascism is authoritarian and communism is totalitarian control under the guise of common good for the people. I think they both utilize left and right wing ideology to assume total power. And, both sides will tell you that I'm going to make a moral society. It depends what you think is moral, though. If you're left wing, you think communism is moral. He's going to give workers rights. If you're right wing, maybe you would fall for a fascist who says, we're going to bring religion back. We're going to bring nationalism back. And we're going to do this. So I'm sure there's elements that overlap as far as control, but I think they try to appeal, at least historically, to different elements of the population. That's why, like in Germany, you had anti-fascists fighting Nazis. Like if you actually research history, that's why Antifa calls everybody Nazis, because they started fighting Nazis. So you had these two factions in Germany fighting each other, and now Antifa just goes outside of Starbucks and wears black on and like lights a fire at a dumpster or something. But in general, there's like people are like, Antifa's the real Nazis, and it's like you could say like that. That's the point I'm trying to make with fascism. I'm not trying to say I'm for any of it. I'm just saying like you could say Antifa's the real Nazis, like I guess, but that doesn't make sense because they actually fought Nazis in the day, and they think they're still fighting Nazis, and they think everybody who opposes them are Nazis, but the people alive today were not the ones alive in Germany. It's like they probably are just like hipster kids with like a trust fund or something. But in general, that's like people just say things and it like catches on. But I'm trying to piece together history and I'm like, what the heck happened? I think it was like, I don't know if you guys saw the post I made, but Olivia Rondow said, she said broke was like Republicans are white supremacists. And then it was like woke. And it said Democrats are the real racists. And then it was like bespoke or whatever. And then it said like the two-party system is tricking both of us. So it's like, these are the games people play. Like you're the real racist. You're the real fascist. You guys are the Nazis. Like everyone just like yells at each other. I get it. Like if you don't like somebody, you just call them something. You're like, you're the real one. You're the racist. Like that's what we do. But I'm just trying to read and stuff and learn what actually happened. Cause I don't know. The more I read, I'm like, I feel like I got lied to about so much stuff, and they didn't they say the victors write history. So depending who you read, you're going to see it through two different lenses. So what I've been trying to do is I like to read it from both sides. That's the best way for me. If I hear what they're saying and I hear what they're saying, a lot of times the truth reveals itself. So I've heard history through their lens. Now I'm trying to hear history through their lens, and I see the overlaps. I see what I disagree with, and I've been learning a lot. I mean, I've been slowing down recently because I've been busy, but it's definitely interesting reading certain texts, and I prefer to read the text from the person. Like, don't listen to what I say about communism. You can, because I think I'm pretty honest and objective, but read the book. It's very thin. It's like that thin. That's the book. I don't like it, but if I listen to someone else talk about it, I would never have known what it actually says. So that's my idea of trying to relearn history. But what do I know? I'm just reading words on a page. Who knows? Who knows what's real anymore? Hopefully you guys like my video, the Jeff Bezos video. I think that was one of my most fun videos ever, and it's very revealing and it's very interesting. I talk about space a little bit. It's pretty wild. Hopefully you guys saw that one. It did pretty well on Instagram and Facebook. I'm sure I'm not going to be able to do a video again like that because it's blowing up on Facebook. I think it's at like 250,000 views or something. Thank you, Tina. Yeah, I like that one. That book was the Communist Manifesto. I mean, I have everything from World War II. I have like Mao Zedong, Stalin. I bought everything because I just want to see what they said. I don't want to hear what someone else said. Like, what were they saying? I got it all. MP said with a super chat, the new NFL rules about forfeiting games related to the V. Also, countries have law enforcement involved with COVID, have government run healthcare, so they enforce health. They want to go this route. Yeah, it's crazy. I call the Olympics the Hunger Games. I said, if you're a true patriot, just don't go to the Tokyo Hunger Games. Just go home. The rules are insane. They're ruining everything. It's like Black Mirror. Not to toot my own horror, but what you said with government enforced healthcare, MP, I want to read my tweet from 2019. I just want to read this real quick. I posted on Facebook. This is in September 8th, 2019. I said, medical freedom is under attack in America right now. Unfortunately, most conservatives don't care, and most liberals don't realize universal healthcare just means total government control over the health industry, which will soon include mandatory injections if both sides sleep. So all these crybaby losers that are like, it's like, what were you losers saying in 2019? Because I said both sides are going to usher in medical tyranny and mandatory vaccinations because they were already trying to do it last year. But in general, yeah, universal healthcare is just government-run healthcare. When the government controls the entire health industry, you have no say anymore. And the right wing just was completely, in many ways, just not paying attention to the stuff because it was happening in California and New York. But a lot of shout out to my Hasidic Jewish brothers and sisters who were out there, some of the biggest protesters. A lot of Christians, a lot of people that I don't even know what their religion is. But the early ones were really, I think, the Hasidics and the Orthodox Jews that were like, yeah, we're not doing this. A lot of them are not like Ben Shapiro. A lot of them are, they're not for the forced V. In New York City and in parts of New Jersey, they're like, no, we're not doing that. Sharp Trick said, hey man, this is John. What equipment software do you use for your vids? I've been watching you for 5 years and it's always been real. We need to stand and speak out. The truth will prevail. Do not swallow the lies. Read Gulag Archipelago. I have that book, actually. It's just so thick. I haven't started reading it yet, but I have it. I have an iPhone 10 and I have just an iMac for this right now, but that's what I'm using currently. Yeah, I might upgrade or do something soon, but I'm always just doing, like, I feel like I never chill. And when I do, I like to like relax. But in general, I like to work. So I'm like, I'm just work, and then relax, take a nap, work. But maybe I'll upgrade soon. We were talking about it the other day. I could stay for like 10 more minutes or so, guys, and then I got to run out. Thank you, Teresa. Someone said many did care. Yeah, Rich, when I say a lot of conservatives don't care, it's not a shot at the people who do care. I'm trying to wake people up who don't care. It's not like, oh, there's not conservatives who care. Of course, millions of people care. but also tens of millions don't. So that's just my way of trying to, maybe it's not the best way to say it, but some people get very upset about it. Nathan said it's been a grinding type of year. I've always been a hustler. I think the fact that I never know when they're going to take my money makes me work harder. I mean, it's not just about money. I've always loved the message and the videos. I did this for years for free with just losing money, but I don't feel like I have a secure job. You know, I feel like any day I could log in and they could say, hey, sorry, we're banning you from everything, or you're losing your money, or we're taking this away. So I feel like I can't chill because I feel like nothing is stable anymore, you know, but I try to relax and enjoy myself. But Facebook has taken away my monetization for a week, a month, 2 months. And, you know, I'm just like, yeah, what if I go on vacation, I come back and just everything's shut down? You never know. So it keeps me on the extra hustle, but I like it. I like having extra incentive to hustle because I'd be hustling anyway, but it's more reason to keep the hustle going. You got to keep it moving. Eddie with the super chat said, I appreciate you calling out the Trump cult. Dude printed more money than any lib, implemented communism in America, and is a mouthpiece for big pharma. Thank you for the super chat, Eddie. Yeah, it's crazy when people, like, I agree with you 1,000%. I've been saying that for a year, and like, people don't want to hear it, or it hurts their feelings. And then the amount of people that are telling me that other influencers keep crying about me and their Instagram, they're like, do you know who this is? I'm like, I don't even know who that is. They're saying you're a shill. I'm like, are they making sense? Are they saying anything like, are they just attacking my character because they don't like, no one knows what they're talking. They're like, I like Trump. I'm against the jab, but he's not doing the jab for my life. It's like, just stop. I got annoyed. I apologize to people on the, I did a supporters only live stream on Facebook yesterday, and I was having a great time for an hour and a half. Marla, I know you were there. I got so annoyed because I was talking about opioids, like kids dying from opioids. And this mom comes on. I hate to be mean, but I blocked her. I told her she can email me for a refund. And she's like, Trump didn't make it mandatory. I'm like, can you just for 2 seconds stop being a PR team for Trump? I didn't say he made it mandatory, but at the same time, he funneled money to Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, and Pfizer. And your kids and your grandkids are dying because hundreds of thousands of kids are facing a country and that doesn't give a crap about them. And no offense, parents that care more about Donald Trump than they do about their kids' future. So it's like, for 2 seconds, can you stop making excuses for the big pharma vaccine salesman? And can you let me talk about how hundreds of thousands of kids are dying from opioids and fentanyls? I lost it a little bit and I apologize, but it's like, not only do these people don't want to talk about it, but then I come along with the younger generation and want to mention it. And they're like, well, Trump, it's like, I'm not trying to segregate via age, because we got 90-year-olds, we got 20-year-olds, you know, we love everybody here, but it's like, can you stand out of the way when I'm trying to talk about your kids and your grandkids making excuses for this stuff? Johnson & Johnson is facing so many lawsuits right now. I mean, how much of this is going, you know, did Trump help them even stay afloat? You know what I'm saying, with all this stuff? Because he's just helping them. So kids are dying, people are dying, life expectancy is going backwards, and Trump is taking the industry that's partially involved with that and giving them more money and power than they've ever had. I don't care if he makes it mandatory. So it's like, I flipped out, and I try not to, but I'm like, I'm so disgusted by these people who have zero, like, you know, I don't know the right word, I guess, zero accountability for what their kids and their grandkids are going to face. Like, the inflation is rising because Trump printed trillions and Biden's eating ice cream and printing trillions. Life expectancy is going backwards. Kids are jacked up with pills and dying of overdoses. You're leaving your kids a shittier world than you had for the first time in modern history. It's always gotten better. You're leaving your kids and your grandkids with a trashier, shittier world with no freedom, with no constitution, with no First Amendment. This is by far going to be, and all you want to do is make excuses for the vaccine salesman. It really ticks me off, because I'm like, get out of the way, lady. Okay. You left this trash world to your grandkids and kids. I have to live in it for 40, 50 years, and we all do. So it's like, don't try to stop me from trying to switch it around. Someone said it's an adult cop-out fear. It's just, it's why this all happened, though. I think at a certain point, you know, people had a really good America. There were great times and everything looked like Leave It to Beaver, and they got lazy and they got complacent and they didn't pay attention, and the TV brainwashed them. and they went to the school and they didn't think about anything, and they went to Woodstock and they listened to, rock and roll, and they didn't have a care in the world. And then as things started declining, nobody cared. And then things started declining and nobody cared. And things started declining and nobody cared. And eventually they got so bad that they couldn't ignore it. And Donald Trump came up and Donald Trump promised them, I'll save your life. I'll reverse it. I'll make America great again. So people thought, oh, good, I don't have to do anything. This guy will save me. And then when he didn't save them, they can't cope with it because they're too lazy or not inspired enough to save their own country. So they rally behind the vaccine salesman and say, I don't care that my kids are dying of opioids. I'm just going to sit and make excuses for Trump on Twitter and wear a red hat on my head. It's like, I don't care. I have a red hat on my head. I'm just saying that's not going to cut it anymore. It's like the easy way out the back door. But I'm just thinking to myself, like, where are the real men? Where are the brave? Where are the courageous? Where are the people who are ready to face what happened and then say, hey, it's time that we make it better? Because none of this happens if people stood up. The Olympics can't go without athletes. Everybody bows down, so they do it. It's called compliance. 95% of people comply. They have no problem. And they're going to do the same thing once they get enough people vaccinated. They're going to turn them against the people who opted out, and it's going to get crazier. I hope it doesn't happen, but that's the game that they're playing. Everybody follows along, everybody complies. And then when you stick out like a sore thumb and say, hey, complying's not going to be good enough, doesn't matter if you vote for Trump, that's not going to cut it. They freak out and just make excuses. Well, it's not mandatory. Okay, but he knew that this was all coming, right? How did I know it was going to come? I'm not even in politics, and I knew this was all going to come in 2019. But he funneled a bunch of money to Big Pharma and didn't think that anything bad was going to happen as he's involved in, 15 days to slow the spread and putting Fauci on. He knew. He just doesn't care. It's a tough bone to pick or a pill to swallow for people that don't want to do anything. But I'm over it because it's like, look at the younger generation. What legacy did their parents and their grandparents leave them? I'm sorry. I'm not trying to blame people, but it's like LGBT overload, pill and pharmacy overload, the complete loss of their First Amendment, the complete dumbing down and baiting of men. You've left, and we've left, to put myself in it, we've left a horrible, 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 horrible world for our children and our grandchildren and their grandchildren. Horrible. So either you want to face that and say, let's not allow this, or you want to watch somebody who tells you that Trump and the military is going to save your whole life, and you just have to sit on the couch and watch, Sean Hannity, who's now telling everybody to get the jab. I'm going to read this real quick. Randall said, what's up, Randall? He said, sometimes you make no sense. Most times you do. But on the Trump issue, your arguments are weak and seemingly tainted in hate for those older than you. Randall, it's not true at all. I mean, no hate aside, no emotion. I'm just saying this is the world you're leaving to your kids and your grandkids. It's just what's happening. This is the first time life expectancy is going backwards. This is the first time that freedom doesn't exist. This is the first time that there's mass political persecutions in America like a communist country. This is the first time there were lockdowns. And Donald Trump was the president during all of it. He signed the CARES Act. He did the mass testing. He saved Big Pharma and funneled money to them. He printed trillions of dollars. This isn't emotional. This isn't illogical. This is what happened. It's your emotion. You love Donald Trump so much. You don't want to admit that he did that. He had a part in the destruction of America. He signed off on it. He supported it. It's all a show that you're buying into. It's WWE because it makes people feel like they don't have to do anything. If Trump is Messiah and he's the new Jesus, I could just sit on the couch and watch Sean Hannity and I don't have to worry about anything. Sean Hannity will say what he has to say. If Sean Hannity has pressure to say something because the biggest sponsor on Fox is probably a pharmacy company or a top 5 sponsor, then he's going to say what they tell him to say. And so is Trump and so is DeSantis. They all cave, they all bow down, and they all do what they're told. Or they just do what's not right for whatever reason. I don't really care, but this isn't rooted in hate. I'm just saying this is the world we're living in. I'm 30. I don't even have kids. And I'm willing to take accountability for this. This is called self-accountability. I didn't do all this. You didn't do all this. but I'm willing to face it and take accountability despite the fact that I don't even have children yet. How come other people don't want to? It's because certain people are allergic to self-accountability. They want Trump to save the whole world. It's not Trump was misled. Bobby, this is why I hate to say it, but the Trump movement is almost as disgusting as the liberal movement now, because it's just filled with excuse making. It's just filled with lies. It's just filled with he doesn't know any better. He's too dumb. If he was misled, then he's not a leader. What is misled? In the word misled is misled. That means somebody led him wrong. If he's following someone else, he's not the leader. So he's following a false leader, and you're following a false leader who's following a false leader. What does that say about you? The word misled has led in it. If he's being led, he's not a leader. But you think he's a leader, and you're admitting he's being led by somebody who's not walking in the right direction, and you still want to make excuses for him? This is peak America weakness. Someone said I'm older than Anomaly and it's hard to watch the lives because the truth is depressing. And he's right. It's not depressing, though. It's only depressing if you think someone else is going to save your whole life in a human form named Donald Trump. This isn't depressing. It's inspiring. You can do something yourself. You could be a part of the change. You are in control of your own life. You are not emboldened by politicians on the left or the right. You are not living vicariously through politicians on the left or right. You are you. You are allowed to live your own life, create, enjoy yourself, go to the beach, take a nap, go climb a mountain. It's your life. It's not depressing. It's only depressing if you've bought into the PSYOP X22 report who tells you to just sit, eat popcorn, watch Sean Hannity, and he's going to save your whole life when he's really just going to do whatever, well, sorry, go get the thing that they told me to get because they're our sponsors. Yeah, that's depressing. It's not depressing. It's only depressing when people don't want to do anything. Our ancestors worked hard to get to America. My grandfather came to America with, underwear made out of potato sacks because he was so poor in Italy. They used to make their underwear out of potato sacks because they were that poor. My grandfather and his family started a garbage business in America, collecting other people's garbage. And what do we have to do right now? Not eat at a restaurant because they force mask us? America's declining because we're filled with cowards and we're filled with do nothing. So it's not depressing. What's depressing is watching how many people do nothing. Okay, I do 1/5 of what my grandfather did, and people think I'm like so special. I'm not even doing half as much as my ancestors did, but I look like freaking Muhammad Ali compared to everybody else because nobody does anything anymore. We are a lazy, dumbed down, pharmacy pilled out population watching too much TV, eating too many pills, believing too many politicians, and people don't want to actually be a part of the American Revolution anymore. Our great-grandfathers and great-great-grandfathers did way more than I did way more than everyone else. All you have to do is 1/2 of what they did or 1/4 of what they did, and the whole country could be saved tomorrow. But people think it's depressing to look at that, and they think it's easier to just slowly let their kids die from opioids and die from fentanyl. That's not easy. That's evil. That's disgusting. I'm not blaming everybody, but it's like the older generation's like, oh my God, look at the millennials. Yeah, it's embarrassing. Who raised them? Who allowed them to go to public schools? Who let them watch so much television? Who let them on the internet? It was the generation who blames the millennials. That's the generation who raised them. Your kids don't just create themselves. You sent them out to school. You let them watch the trash television. You watched it with them. You believe the moon landing. No, I'm just kidding. But in general, it's like, yeah, how do you think they got molded that way? It's been a decline of America that nobody wants to talk about, that nobody wants to face. Someone said head in the sands. Yeah, it's sick to me because I'm like, don't you have kids and grandkids? 6 years. Well, Trump did it. I get you're not going to go do it yourself. You're older and you're probably retired and doing your own thing. But at a certain point, it's like if you see me with the passion and fire to actually try to reverse some of this stuff so your kids don't overdose and die of pills, like everybody knows somebody dying of pills, because our country is emboldened to an industry that Donald Trump gave billions of dollars to. So how are we going to solve these problems when your favorite politician is funneling money, power, and control to Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson? He's not on your side. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about your kids. And it's only depressing if you live yourself by your life vicariously through a Republican Party politician who funnels money to big pharma and caves to lockdowns and Fauci. Yeah, that's depressing because your whole life's a lie. So it's not depressing. It's only depressing when people just think that's their whole life. It's like, that's depressing for me. You think it's not depressing watching an entire generation just let their kids die of overdose of pills and let their kids just be total betas because they're watching Disney Channel and they're being subverted by, wicked deceivers in the writing room? You think that's not depressing? Letting our whole country slide into communism? You think that's not depressing? Letting Donald Trump, the vaccine salesman, print trillions of dollars and watching a bunch of boomers and phony millennials make excuses for the guy because they're too cowardly to face the truth? You think that's not depressing? Watching 15 Days to Slow the Spread last a year? You think that's not depressing? Watching freedom fighter Ron DeSantis wait a year to reverse his emergency order? You think that's not depressing? Watching Sean Hannity cave to the pharmacy industry? You think that's not depressing? You attending a rally with a red hat cheering on the guy who just sold our country out for a year and a half after he did it? You think it's like, oh yeah, it's so depressing facing no, it's depressing watching you guys not give a crap about the people who are going to be on this earth for the next 60, 70 years, because there is going to be no America. There is going to be no freedom. There is going to be no constitution because both parties are subverting it. And you want to say, well, Anomaly, you make sense sometimes, but when you talk about Trump, I just don't want to hear it. So I'm going to act like you don't make sense. It makes sense. It's just you don't want to face it. So now your kids are going to have to face the consequences of a generation of people who don't want to face the truth. So there is no Anomaly's not making sense in the live stream. He just hates Trump and boomers. No, that's not true. Your kids and your grandkids are going to have to face the consequences of people who let America decline socially, of people who let America decline economically. And it's a two-party operation. And the longer people want to act like it's not, the longer the WWE show goes on. I still vote. I still like certain politicians more than others, but it's WWE, and they're just stringing you along. Vicky said, don't blame this on Trump. It's been going long before Trump. I just said it's been going on long before Trump. I got to go in a few minutes, but this is the problem. You guys are more dedicated to making excuses for the vaccine salesman than you are with facing the truth. I just talked for 6 minutes and I talked about how this was happening for decades. I said that, but that's not enough for you because your whole life revolves around making excuses for the guy who saved Big Pharma, Donald Trump, because that's your whole life. You don't care about your kids. You don't care about your grandkids. You don't care about your future. You don't care about your family. You don't care about your country. You don't care about your constitution. You care about making excuses for a guy who's not going to save you. So I've already talked about this. I'm not saying it's 100% his fault. I'm saying it's 100% the fault of the people who just make excuses for him, like you, who refuse to face the truth. Your whole life is just making excuses for him. Then go to a rally. Go get lied to again. Go follow him to the Capitol. He said, follow me to the Capitol. I'll be there with you. And he wasn't there. Go watch Dr. Shiva's show on YouTube. He has a great 4 or 5 minute video. Trump said, it's going to be a wild protest. Come to the Capitol. Follow me. I'll be there. And guess what? He didn't show up. You know why? Because you got set up. Keep following him. Go ahead. Unfollow my page. I'm so tired for the excuse making. It's an everyday thing. You guys made excuses for 50 years. Now you're making excuses now. Am I mad at a certain people or a certain age group? Absolutely not. I'm just facing the reality of, from this point to this point, our country has been declining. And this new generation that's beta and doesn't know what they're doing and sitting in $2,000 San Francisco, somebody raised them, unless they got raised on the streets. It's like somebody was in charge. Somebody had those kids. Ricole said, no, Anomaly, you never talk about Joe or Kamala because you're scared. There's nothing scary about talking about Joe or Kamala. That's the biggest low-hanging fruit ever. What do every conservative do on Twitter every day? They say, oh my God, Joe Biden mumbles and can't speak. I retweeted it too. He's mumbling, he's stumbling, he's lying. Joe Biden is a train wreck, okay? Joe Biden doesn't speak properly. Joe Biden is a clown. Joe Biden is an embarrassment to this country. But I'll tell you the best thing about him. That's your government, okay? Donald Trump is this fake illusion of what you thought was going to save you. It was never true, okay? Joe Biden is what your government actually looks like, so now it's time to face it. That's the perfect face of the government because that's exactly how competent they are. Donald Trump lured everybody into this false sense of security, thinking he's going to save your life, and now you're facing Joe Biden. He's who the government really is, okay? So now it's time to actually face that, as opposed to just doing low-hanging fruit tweets all the time. Yeah, he can't talk. Of course. Yeah, he's a joke. Yeah, but what does that do? What does it do that everybody spends 4 years making fun of Joe Biden, and then as soon as Donald Trump or Ted Cruz or whoever the next puppet comes into terms, now all of a sudden everybody's acting like they're going to save your world, and then you get played again, and then Operation Warp Speed happens again, and then oh no, and now it's all just a WWE circus. So I don't talk about Joe Biden because I'm scared. There's nothing scary talking about Joe Biden. Everybody does it. It's low-hanging fruit. It's like me grabbing a freaking, an avocado off a tree, or a pomegranate off a tree when it's 2 feet in the air. It's easy. It just doesn't mean anything. My video about Jeff Bezos, there's value there. There's something that someone else isn't talking about that reveals a deeper picture. Making fun of Joe Biden for 4 years is part of the circus. It's the same thing as saying Russia collusion for 3 years, or defending yourself against it, or fighting it. It's all just a thing that they put there, and everyone does. What does that solve? You're going to vote the guy back in office who did what Joe Biden did a year ago. So that's why I don't talk about Biden, because he's a joke, and he's not doing anything. The reason I talk about Trump is because he's leading 50 million people who admit he's not a good leader. So the freedom fighters in this country are following Trump and saying, well, he got misled. Misled means misled by someone else leading. So you're following a leader who isn't going in the right direction because they're following somebody else that isn't going in the right direction, and you're making excuses for following a leader that got misled by another man, and that's who you're following, and that's who you're making excuses for. So I'm sorry, but I'm more concerned with the fact that 100 million freedom fighters in America are running circles around a big pharma vaccine salesman who they all admit isn't even walking in the right direction, because apparently he's too foolish or too naive or doesn't know where he is. It's like, at least with Joe Biden, you identify Joe Biden doesn't know where he is. Joe Biden can't speak. Yeah, that's easy. I'm not following Joe Biden, but you guys are following somebody that you think is being misled. You get what I'm saying? That's why I talk about that. It's not easier to do. It's harder to do. It's harder to go against Trump to a group of people that think he's leading them to the promised land, and he's really just leading them back to their house to sit inside for 15 days so Donald Trump can funnel money to Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, and Big Pharma, just like Obama would have, just like Romney would have. You think all these fake Trump influencers, they're like, Trump saved the world with Operation Warp Speed. Are you that big? No offense, but are you that big of a clown that you think that Trump did something revolutionary by funding Big Pharma and warp speeding money in their direction that anyone would have done? Romney would have done that. Obama would have done that. McCain would have done that. Hillary would have done that. Biden would have done that. Jake Tapper supports it. Nobody wouldn't have done that. This wasn't this it's just branding Big Pharma funding to a group of Trump supporters and playing you for a fool. Space Force, Operation Warp Speed. Whoa. So, and everyone's like, oh man, we're really being safe. Every politician would have done that. There's nothing revolutionary or helpful or amazing or so against the establishment. There's nothing more establishment than Operation Warp Speed. It's so establishment and so disgusting that all you could do is hallucinate a fake reality in order to justify it. X-22. Well, patriots, don't worry. Operation Warp Speed's to save you. That's all you can do because it's so bad and so egregious and so well documented what it actually is. The only way to wiggle out of that one is to hallucinate a completely fake story that doesn't exist and convince a bunch of 50 to 70-year-old MAGA moms to agree with you. And I'm not trying to be rude, but it's like these grown men like X-22 report. No one's ever seen his face, so nobody knows who he is. But in general, it's like their biggest audience is a bunch of people who don't know how to use the internet that well and people that are easily fooled. It's like, it's very sick. Like, yeah, I could probably fool my grandma, but I'm not a sicko, evil person, so I wouldn't fool my grandma. That's what these people are doing, and I'm not blaming a certain age group, but every time I talk to older women, they're like, I follow X-22 report. It's like these are grown men tricking grandmas into thinking Donald Trump is a Ninja Turtle, and he's underground about to save them with a Nikola Tesla time machine, or he's secretly the president. It's like you're a grown man fooling MAGA grandmas. Like, that's your whole shtick. Patriots, any day now, we're going to, emerge from the FEMA camps and fight Joe. You're not fighting crap. It's a psyop. Someone said warp speed is the least impressive thing. I got to run. I really have to run. But in general, I'm just trying to get through to people. And maybe it's not the best strategy, but like the amount of excuses that I've heard and people that are like, no, 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 no. He did that to say, you're so into a politician and a political figure that you're willing to lie to yourself about what you did. It's the same as Barack Obama when he dropped bombs on the Middle East and when he's in Libya, going after Muammar Gaddafi. Liberals don't agree with that, but if you're delusional and you're obsessed with Obama, you tell yourself, oh, he's not really doing that. It's called you're getting lied to. It's like watching Stone Cold Steve Austin drink a beer and tombstone somebody, and you think it's real. It's fake. It's a fake show. It's all fake. So it's the same thing with Trump. Operation Warp Speed's not a great thing. It's just giving money to big pharma. Every politician would do that. All of them. None of them wouldn't do that because it's the most establishment thing to do. So Trump supporters just sit in their head and make up excuses for it. You're no better than the left. You've become exactly what you hate. A fake, partisan sham who doesn't even believe in their own values. Dolly said, leave Trump alone. Dolly, go buy a Trump doll and click on follow, okay? I don't know your age. I don't care. I don't care if you're 20. I don't care if you're 50. I don't care if you're 70. Life expectancy in America is going backwards. Opioids are killing children. Fentanyl is killing children. Overdoses are killing children. They are depressed. They're mentally damaged. They're psychologically damaged from the bipartisan lockdown in 2020. And Donald J. Trump funneled billions of dollars to these companies, some of which are involved in the opioid crisis that's facing the future generation. So if you don't want to face that and you just want to say Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, your kids and your grandkids probably won't be thanking you for the fact that you just let them get engulfed by this industry, because that's what the Republicans are doing. And I don't really care anymore because it's like, it's not going to work out for you, Dolly. I'm sorry. It's not like you're going to be a free bird following. No, you're going to end up like his supporters did on January 6th. Keep following the guy. Yeah. Come on, Patriots. Let's go. I'll be there at the Capitol with you. Hey, we're here. Where's Donald Trump? Oh, he scooted out in his limousine. Sorry, he didn't make it to the Capitol. He just told you to go there. It's going to be wild. Just go. I'll be right there. Okay. I'll see you guys. I'm going to. Someone said sometimes people need to be taught how to save themselves. You can't idolize a political figure like Jesus Christ. People get so into it. Someone said it's not that I disagree, but I feel like you're harping on this. I have to go in a minute, but there's so many things I want to talk about. There's so many things I want to cover. Maybe I just can't do live streams anymore. And I'm not saying this. I love live streams. People seem to love it on Facebook. People seem to love it on Instagram and YouTube. I might not be able to do live streams anymore. And I'm not trying to cop out, but it's like people are so brainwashed by Donald Trump that it's not fun anymore. This is not that necessarily super fun for me. It's annoying having to live in Groundhog Day with a bunch of boomers who got brainwashed by Trump and QAnon and just sit there making excuses for fantasy fairy tale vaccine salesmen, man, as their kids are dying of opioids. It's extremely not fun. And I agree with you. Yeah, I am harping on it too much because these people have been in my chat since April of last year, telling the same lies and the same excuses, just coping out because they don't want to do anything. So in general, it just seems like at a certain point, I'm not even going to be able to interact with people. My audience is apparently filled with delusional people who would rather make excuses for the decline of America and the two-party involvement in it than they would do for standing up on their own 2 feet and saying no. Say no. Just say no. But you can't do that. Say yes. Say, oh yeah, he's going to save me. These people don't care about you. Ted Cruz has no problem if you are a second-tier citizen for not getting a jab. Donald Trump wants you to get it. DeSantis wants you to get it. And Ben Shapiro thinks that it's okay if you're not allowed in public facilities without it. Yeah, keep going to these people's event. You're going to end up in a real special place. ZM said sometimes people need to get screwed before they realize they should have saved themselves. We already got screwed, though. This is the creepy part, is like, we already got screwed. If you didn't learn your lesson from the lockdown, if you didn't learn your lesson from Operation Warp Speed, guys, why do you think they're jamming these vaccines down your throat so hard and they're doing all this? Where did they get the money to do that? Where do you think they got the money? You think Biden gave them the money by himself? No, Trump signed off on the money too. All the money they're getting, all of these emergency orders, the CARES Act, Operation Warp Speed, they're just funneling money, power, control, resources to all of these organizations, groups, and industries that want to treat you like a slave. So Both parties are funneling their money to these people. Then they do it. And then the right wing sits there and acts like they're against what they just ushered in. It's like, that's great. You could take a stand against the vaccine passport. But if you can't do anything about the cruise industry, you try to sue and you can't really do that much. If you can't really do that much about corporations, it doesn't matter what you think you're doing because you just screwed your own support base. So that's what we're facing. I'm not concerned. I know people think I'm so sad and depressed. I have a great life because I don't live vicariously through Ron DeSantis. I don't think he's going to save me. I'm very aware that Trump not only didn't save me, he saved Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer and screwed me over and screwed over your kids and their grandkids. But I'm not fine with it. But it's like, I don't live this fantasy land where, Donald Trump's a Ninja Turtle who's coming back in 2024 to save America. I rely on them for nothing. I do my own thing. I enjoy my life. And to be quite honest, I've had a great week, a great month, a great year. I just can't do a live stream anymore. I really can't. I'm over it. I appreciate it. I had fun for a while, but reading, maybe I'll just go live, not talk to anybody and go out because it's just becoming draining. There's people who just sit on their computer and their TV all day, watch Fox News, listen to a bunch of fake Republicans, and they don't know anything. So they come here and they cry every day in my chats and say, I don't want to think that no, you're mean to Trump, you're hurting us. Okay, then let your kids just grow up in the sicko world. Someone said, where did I get your hat? I got it at a pharmacy. Thank you, Chaz. I appreciate you. I'm going to read this real quick. Dwayne, last comment, because this is one of the perpetual lies that makes me not want to live stream. Dwayne says, you're the guy that's happy if your guy's winning. You were Trump. Then you saw he wasn't going to win, overturning the election. You picked something to complain about. All right, Dwayne, for the 1,000th time, I'm going to prove that lie. So in 2016, I've been very clear. I was not a lifelong Republican or conservative. I wasn't really into politics at all. But I admitted in 2016 that I voted for Jill Stein in the 2016 election because I didn't like either candidate. My biggest video, my most viral video, Dwayne, because you're just another liar, lying about my character, lying about my history. You can't cope with the facts that I'm dropping, so you hallucinate this fake reality that never existed back then. My biggest Trump video ever, which went more viral than anybody, inspired the walkaway movement, and got millions of people to support the president, was my video that got over 20 million views, maybe 40 million views. I said, I didn't vote for Trump. I'm not a Republican. And here's why I think Trump's not that bad. And that was my energy the entire time. I supported him when he did right. I questioned him when he did something weird. I've always been that way. I was never a Trump sycophant. You can't find a picture of me in a MAGA hat because it doesn't exist. I never was this build a wall, MAGA, MAGA, MAGA. I said building a wall makes sense. Why wouldn't you want border security? I've always supported him when he did right. But this idea that I'm all Trump, 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 and that's all I do. No, you're thinking of these other phonies that won't call out Operation Warp Speed because they can't. I could tell the truth and still get 5 million views a week. These other Trump supporters can't because they made a deal with the devil. All they know how to do is support the guy, so they're not allowed to tell you the truth. I've been telling you the truth since day one. I was never just a sycophant. I was never just Trump, Trump, Trump. I've been the same way the whole time. Of course, I've evolved certain stances, but when people can't cope with what I'm doing, they act like my whole thing is all I've done was obsess over Trump. The big video that he blew up was I didn't say I voted for Trump. I'm obsessed with Trump. I wear a MAGA hat. If I did that, nobody would have liked Trump. Nobody would have listened to me. That's what everyone else does. That's why you get fooled. That's why you're so easy to play. That's why you get lied to. And that's why, quite frankly, people don't want to listen to that because it's annoying, whether you like Trump or not. That was never my spiel. The whole thing was I didn't vote for him the first time. I'm not a lifelong Republican. I'm not a lifelong conservative. Here's why I think he's doing a good job. And every time I did a reporting, if he did a stupid omnibus bill, I said, I don't like that. If he did something good, I said, I do like that. I've never been this person who just wrote his Trump coattails. I made one song about it, and it's not the biggest thing I've done. It has 400,000 views. I get 400,000 views in a day talking about Jeff Bezos. I've already eclipsed that song's views on Facebook and YouTube with one video within 24 hours of talking about something else. So this was never my number one thing. Someone said, don't let them control you. I'm just accurately detailing history because all these phonies like Hotep Jesus, Styx Hexenhammer, and all these people, they're trying to push the narrative that all I did was obsess over Trump the entire time. And as soon as he lost, I turned against him because I only like a winner. I have before the election in April saying he was supporting communism in April of 2020. I said Operation Warp Speed was a joke the second he did it, because I've felt this way about Big Pharma since I was 18 years old. So this is a fake, nonsensical talking point of people who can't cope with what I'm saying. They try to act like it was after the election when I spoke against it. I spoke against it in March, April, May, June, July, August, September. But I still voted for him, and I still wanted to see him turn it around. I'm like, maybe this guy could turn it around. Maybe, he screwed up, and maybe he just needed to win the election. And after the election, he's only gotten worse. Moderna, he's only gotten worse. So this is a fake rumor. I got to go, but I have something to do. But if you want to disagree with what I'm saying, that's fine. But don't make up this fake thing that I just started saying this like 2 days ago because he lost the election. I said this in April. I said this in May. I said this in June. And to be quite frank, over the years, I always talked about what I did and didn't like. It just so happened before the shutdown, he wasn't doing that many things that were that bad. He had a pulse to what was going on. And what am I going to say? I'm not a critic. Like, oh my God, he was doing a good job. And then he wasn't. So it's just another fake talking point that other people make, but it's okay. Sorry about that, guys. I'll go live again, but I'm really going to consider doing live streams at all. I'm enjoying it now, but to be honest, I don't live in this like fake, stupid world. And especially when it comes to like, I go to the beach, I go for a bike ride. I don't want to sit in a room with a bunch of people that just say the same things all the time. You get what I'm saying? This is like a live stream. We're enjoying ourselves. We're talking about different things. I think about it as an interaction. If somebody told me, Anomaly, you got to sit in the same room with these people who say the same stupid things and the same lies and the same slanders of you every day, I would say I'm not going to that room, because why would I do that? I could do a million things, make a million videos. Why would I want to go to the same room every day with the same people telling the same lies, making the same excuses, doing the same do nothing things? That's what my live streams have turned into, because I interact with people. And, someone said Trump worshipers are worse than BLM. It's getting bad. But in general, it's not fun for me. And I love my life, and I love doing videos, and I love interacting with you. So if that's what this is going to become, I'm not trying to be mean or sad or anything, but I really have to consider if this is even worth it, because it's like people's own psychosis is going to drive everyone else insane, because they're like crazy. Like I say this for a reason. Click the unfollow button and go to a page where people agree with that. I don't want people who disagree with me to leave, but these are the same stupid lies and talking points I've heard 10,000 times. You're not reinventing the wheel for us here. We've heard it a million times. So if this is what it's going to be, there are going to be no more live streams. And I'm just going to do videos by myself, because I enjoy my life way too much, and I have too much fun doing this to let them suck out my fun and joy of doing my job in a echo chamber of just sycophants over a guy who sold a bunch of vaccines and set his supporters up at the Capitol. Thank you, guys. Have a good day. I'll be back at a certain point.